Hmm. Alright. Hello, 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 everyone. We'll be getting started shortly. Players, if both of y'all agree to same piece sets, let me know in the chat. I believe things should be live. If not, whenever y'all ready, and we can get things underway. Dan says yes, SPS. I have a feeling about what G's is going to say. Just because I know how the Aux Cords play. Sweet. You get SPS? Excited for this matchup. Should be a very close one. Both 20 Dan and G's are tappers. Unless G's plays his playstyle since the last time he's playing the match. Alright. Do forgive me for my energy today. It's been a long day. I'm gonna see if I can make it through. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Gauntlet Ascension. I'm your favorite underwater host, Sharky, and today we have another match, once again continuing Super Week, this time between the Aux Cords and the Stochastic Squad. The lineup is looking pretty stacked, and I for one can't wait to get into it. Of course, starting off today, we're going to have G's versus 20 Dan, followed up by Kitten versus Toby. Then the third match will be Jordan versus Firedox, and of course we'll be finishing up with the Captain's match. That being said, we are running a little bit late behind, so I'm not going to have any long drawn-out intro. We'll do most of that yapping whenever we get to level 18. So both our players are finishing up their warm-ups. So let's go ahead and head over to them right now, and once they're ready, we can get things underway. Okay, we have it ready from both players. Let's go ahead and get them counted down. First match of tonight's Gauntlet match, G's versus 20 Dan. Here we go in 3, 2, 1, Tetris. Same piece is confirmed. And both open with almost exact same openers. There was a bit of differentiation there on G's part. We'll see how this turns out, because sometimes those small differentiations, depending on how the pieces fall and how you stack them, could allow you to have either increased efficiency or decreased efficiency. And ooh, 20 Dan, a little bit of danger here. Able to bring things down on that left-hand side, but now it's got a kind of like a mid-stack secret grade forming. That L piece is going to help. Needs a J piece. I piece is received. And just like that, 20 Dan is out and alive. Of course, this is Gauntlet, as we saw yesterday, because we had a world record for the worst seed in competitive in Gauntlet. 54 bars at transition. The only game that has been worse than that has been Sidneb's 53 bar max out. So, yeah, but Gauntlet has the worst RNG confirmed. And starting off this game, it hasn't been terribly great. Timing of the long bars has been a little bit sparse. Our players are making it work. Jeez is making it work the best, though. 165,000 for him at 35 lines. 20 Dan is at 152,000. Ooh, I like the delay burn set up over there by Jeez. And it kind of help mitigate the toughness of the sequence. But that T-piece going to cause Jeez to miss out on a Tetris opportunity there. And the subsequent T-piece is going to further complicate things. However, things are also complicated by 20 Dan too. So once again, neither player in scoring position. And these O pieces are not what you're looking for. But 20 Dan, great build-up right here. However, that hole is in column 2. For those of you that might not be familiar, I famously like to say that column 2 is the worst spot to have a hole in. Just because of the ways that the pieces that you need to solve it. Sometimes if they don't come for a prolonged period of time, you might just end up building on top of that. Or once again, complicating things. And 20 Dan, deciding not to go for the S-spin. Went for the S-spin the second time around. Didn't want to hold out on the J. And despite all this digging that 20 Dan's doing, he's not too far behind. 247 for G's, 199 for 20 Dan. And 20 Dan, after scoring a couple Tetrises, G's with the nice L triple is going to clean things up flawlessly. And long bar dependency gets built up over there on the left. It does get resolved, and G's does find the Tetris, so still going to be holding on to a 2.5 Tetris lead. Players are looking at potentially a 40 line transition, or 40 bar transition. Of course, it seems like the bars have been a little bit more flowing here towards the latter half of the game, as opposed to the opening half. But we'll have to see. There's another Tetris for G's and another Tetris for 20 Dan. 325 to 313. 20 Dan has closed the gap, but is slightly ahead in lines. Dan with another misdrop. And this is going to be looking for a J at least, and then potentially, deciding not to use the J to set up the delay burn. The double's going to work out in 20 Dan's favor. Still going to be behind, though. As Jeez is able to utilize that long bar for a Tetris, and another misdrop for 20 Dan. And not able to get the eyepiece all the way over. We are closing in on the transition. About 25 lines. Another misshot for 20 Dan. However, Jeez has only been able to score one Tetris throughout all this chaos that has happened on 20 Dan's end. And Jeez is going all in. Tetris will be scored, so 449 for Jeez, but now Tetris readiness is not looking in either player's future at the moment. So 3 Tetrises is what separates them here in game number 1. Question is, which player will get Tetris ready first? Looks like Jeez is the closest to it. Yeah, all these long bars. Definitely the latter half of the 18 was drowning in long bars. Because we are going to transition with 50 long bars, it appears. 51 long bars is going to be the transition. 406 for 20 Dan, 469 for Jeez. 20 Dan still not in scoring position. Jeez is, but now have a hole generated over there in column 1, is going to have to find a way to address said hole. Alright, 20 Dan. Right side is open. He is now in scoring position. Tetris ready. There it is. Tetris for 20 Dan. Finally start getting back on the board. As now G's is still kind of struggling here. The board isn't necessarily in a dangerous spot. However, as you can see, 20 Dan has been utilizing this opportunity to close the gap. Is now behind by just under a Tetris and a half. G's is now back in the scoring position. And there it is, Tetris for G's. 20 Dan with a nice skim right there. Left side needs to be addressed. Gonna decide to take a triple. And 20 Dan just unable to really find any success with the pieces right there on level 21. They set up for a Tetris here on level 22. Just waiting patiently for the long bar. Only received about 8 long bars here in the post transition. So this is the drought. Another triple force over there for 20 Dan. Able to get the tap all the way over to the left. And it's just going to have to burn the stack down. G's is now in trouble. This drought lasted a full level and is still going. Finally, after, for what seemed forever, G's, or not G's, 20 Dan was able to find the long bar. Can't use it for a Tetris, but G's tops it at 550. So 20 Dan needs 551. There's a Tetris. One more will do it. And a misdrop. Of course, G's can line this out. However, the board is now elevated. Another misdrop for, or not G's, for 20 Dan. 20 Dan can line this out, but now he's in survival mode. There's a double. Needs to get something over to the left. This is crucial. That J piece is going to help, but 20 Dan is going to come shy of 5,000 points. The misdrop after the Tetris on level 24 started the spiraling out of control. So G's takes game number 1. Next seed should be A3. When both players have A3, we are ready. Let me get this sent to, both players are ready. Let's go ahead and get them counted down. Here we go. Game number 2 in 3, 2, 1. Tetris. Alright. Got to start from both players. 20 Dan with a Tetris already on the board, operating with a left well. G's the absolute mirror that right well's over here for this man. So one of the challenging things about left wells is if you are trying to find your way back over to that right hand side, it is very difficult to get a transfer completely over to the right hand side because you are naturally stacking kind of the inverse of how you would for right well, which means that you're putting that weight on that right well most of the time. And in order for you to get a clean transfer, that means that you would have to put majority of that weight in the center. But 20 Dan knocks down a Tetris in the center, is able to transfer back over to the right hand side, and able to do so, I'd say, with a pretty solid... Ooh. Misses the T-piece adjustment there. Will be Tetris. No, decides to actually burn out of it. And placement doesn't burn anything, so 20 Dan is going to fall behind. As a matter of fact, these pieces aren't the greatest. And 20 Dan unable to find the adjustment up this high in order to utilize the pieces to the greatest effect. And of course, whenever you start to get around the halfway point around the next box, it is hard to just adjust on the fly. Because not naturally, whenever you're playing on level 18, you generally have 1 second from piece to fall from top to bottom. Of course, that second changes as you stack up higher and higher, so it decreases in time. A nice little Tetris over there for 20 Dan. So as your stack gets to around middle of the height, you no longer have that second. And speaking about no longer having a second, G's is a mere seconds away from topping out if he's not careful. That left side is looking absolutely deadly. There's a long bar dependency now. 20 Dan has already crossed the score threshold of G's, and with that top out, 20 Dan ties things up 1-1. Next C should be B4. And before we get started for our next game, if you haven't already, make sure to join the Gauntlet Discord server. If you're really enjoying this and you want to help support me, because, yeah, I'm going through it, man. You can always, come to Twitch sub, or if you have your Twitch Prime still available. Twitch Prime, and soon there'll be ways to tip the commentary. But we do got it ready from both players. Let's go ahead and get them counted down. We go in 3, 2, 1, Tetris. So we do have our starts over here in game number 1. And 20 Dan already having to deal with an unfavorable situation. Given a choice. And it looks like his decision in that choice is to go for the row 2. Of course, we'll be seeing the Stochastic Squad come back again tomorrow to face off up against Eternal in our double header. We play an Eternal second, and it will be a captainless match. Because Portal does not have any ways of playing at the moment. And come November, we'll have to see how moving forward we will deal with that. As the Eternals do have a great deal of matches to be played. But getting 2 partial matches out the way is going to help us get closer to our goal of getting into the play-in tournament by December. Should after Gauntlet Super Week conclude and everything go according to plan, we will officially have 19 matches remaining of the season. 6 matches in a week is it's quite wild. 153 for 20 Dan. Back down to the bottom at row 1 on the right-hand side. 172 for G's. G's with the slightly more efficient game. All right, sorry about that. 245 now for 20 Dan, 228 for G's. Boards are looking stable. Not too many issues this time around. Ooh, interesting. G's deciding to build up the right hand first, instead of fulfilling that T-tuck opportunity immediately. Does get all the required pieces, so I guess in a sense it doesn't necessarily matter. But you always gotta wonder, you know, in certain cases, what if that piece didn't show up? Halfway until, or just over halfway until the level 19 transition. And we're looking at some paces that are, I want to say, 500k transition territory. Heck, 20 Dan with the pace advantage. One could argue that if he were to play perfect, a 600k transition, well, near perfect, a 600k transition could be in his future. But of course, that's under the stipulation of playing near perfect. And right now, these pieces are anything but perfect, as 20 Dan is going to run into a slowdown. Which means that G's following this Tetris will be tying things up. And 20 Dan is back over here on the left-hand side. Of course, this is our first matchup today. Our second match will be Kitten versus Toby. The tier right underneath Captain. And we'll have Jordan versus Firedox. And our Captain's match to top off the evening will be Rawmations versus Dingler. So, we've had a lot of pretty good matchups here, part of Gauntlet Super Week. $405 now for G's, 20 Dan at 397. Level 19 transition is soon upon us. 3 Tetrises remain possible for G's. There's one Tetris, 20 Dan, if receiving... Oh, gonna hold out for the... No, not gonna hold out for the J. Just gonna head and take the necessary burns in. 20 Dan goes into transition at 450. G's goes into transition at 522. So we reach our second level 19 transitions of the day. G's game number 1 was barely able to win. 20 Dan had a failed chase down. Looks like things are a lot more under control for 20 Dan. All the kind of double flips and things that we saw, we're seeing them to a lesser degree. However, 20 Dan is not Tetris ready. G's is, and will score a Tetris. So 555 to now 510 as 20 Dan enters level 21. Players now clean. Tetris ready is 20 Dan. It's gonna knock down a Tetris. G's going to run into a slowdown. Can decide to go for row 3, but no, is going to commit to the burns, and that's exactly what you want to hear if you're 20 Dan. Board is clean. Tetris is scored. We're back in the tie position. 567 and now 567. And 20 Dan is still in scoring position. However, the board not necessarily conducive for managing droughts, so he is going to have to hope for an eye piece here in the center. Able to tap a piece all the way over to the left. Barely makes his way over. And it's just going to take the triple. So both players kind of experiencing some danger over there on level 22. But now they're both down to the bottom and are ready to score Tetrises. As both players get Tetris ready around the same time as they wait for the next long bar. There it is, Tetris for 20 Dan and Tetris for G's. 617 to now 613. 20 Dan in the lead, barely. A few more burns going to be forced over there on G's side. Players now waiting on the next long bar. As 20 Dan is Tetris ready. G's trying to get Tetris ready. There it is, Tetris for 20 Dan. G's not going to be able to get Tetris ready in time before this long bar hits the stack. Yeah, another burn is going to be forced over there on G's. So 20 Dan with another Tetris is going to solidify a 2 Tetris lead as G's is still unable to get into that scoring position. Dan, Tetris ready. Beautiful board. Goes for the flat T burn. So it kind of flattens out the stack. So having to take a couple of burns here. Nice safety double. In the lead. Don't want to blow this out. And eyepiece comes a little bit too late, but that one came perfectly timed. 725 to now 635. No Tetris over there for G's. It's now finally able to start scoring a little bit, but time is running out. G's now finally Tetris ready. Knocks in a Tetris, goes up to 709. However, 20 Dan cannot rest. He has to get all these Tetrises. If G's can find a way to start scoring consistently, which Ooh, not entirely sure with a board looking like this. Wait, could have gone for the flat burn up for the dirty Tetris, but no, is going to remain disciplined. Jeez, needs all 3 of these Tetrises here. 20 Dan, that Tetris might be the dagger. Jeez is going to need some 29 play now. As 20 Dan setting up for one last Tetris. Gets it, goes into 29 at 881. Is going to get some extra points too. 884 is the top out for 20 Dan. Jeez now needs to chase down 80,000 points in the post-transition. It's not going to be able to do it. 20 Dan takes game number 3. Get it ready for both players to go ahead and get them counted down. Game number 4. We're going 3, 2, 1, Tetris. All right, JOJ. Both players are in fact on the same piece set, and ooh, already a rough start over here. For our players, wait, hold on, let me double check the seeds real quick. C55. C55, yep. So, geez. Needs to win this next game to bring us to a decider. 20 Dan needs to win this next game in order to take the first point for the Stochastic Squad. Technorist, thank you so much for the 6-month gifted sub, I believe that's what it said, to Cobra. Much appreciated. And something that would also be much appreciated is if 20 Dan can find a way to get out of this stack. Both players actually with elevated stacks, so the P sequence not doing too friendly. And if you missed yesterday's game, it was so bad. It was game 4 with K-Poke and Galaxy, if I'm not mistaken. You have to see how bad that game was. It was so bad, like, there will be a video I create on it. Like, it was a generationally bad game in terms of the pieces that the players received. So, players are aware. And it looks like after a little bit of an early hiccup on both sides, players are in a position to continue scoring. G's currently down by about a Tetris and a half, as both players knock down Tetrises at the same time. In fact, G's might actually have the pace advantage. Depends on how many burn lines he takes over these next few Tetrises. And ooh, just one Mino shy of being able to use that long bar, but can use the next one. 177 for G's, 183 out of Tetris goes up to 206 for 20 Dan. And as of right now, things are looking pretty stable here. Neither player in trouble. 20 Dan looks like he is going to... Oh, didn't see the opportunity set up for a burn there. So now 20 Dan is going to be forced to do some burning. Still a respectable height, so wouldn't necessarily say it's comfortable, but not anything that would be considered danger at the moment. However, the lead that was built up will be lost. Unless G's is unable to score either. As both players are experiencing complications, there is now a 2-deep dependency and rough timing on those L pieces for G's. 20 Dan actually is able to get in a scoring position before G's. So it appears that both players ran into a rough sequence. Normally when one player runs into an issue, you can chalk that up to a decision that was made that led them into that issue. But when both players run into an issue, then you know that the piece sequence was really difficult to deal with. And unless they made right decisions before running into said piece sequence, they're likely both going to have to try and manage the aftermath, so to speak. 292 for G's, 321 for 20 Dan. G's continuing to run into situations where he's unable to use the long bar for a Tetris, but can use that one. So 20 Dan will have the advantage as long as he's able to maintain this same level of efficiency as G's going forward. Meaning that it's going to be G's the one that's going to be playing from behind. Ooh, 20 Dan not getting the eyepiece all the way over to the left. Would knock down a Tetris and gets the subsequent eyepiece over. So, no trouble. A little bit of slideshow on G's side, but we'll be good. G is not going for the line spin here. Held out for the J piece to tuck. And G's now in danger. Needs this eyepiece now. Eyepiece did not come in enough time. With only 15 lines to remain and the board getting high. This could be it for G's. That T-piece might have been the lifesaver he needed, though. 20 Dan transitions at 474. The question is, do we reach a transition for G's? Only 9 lines remain. One more J-piece. An I-piece is found. Can G's get one more I-piece? Yes, he can. G's successfully makes it to transition. 425 for him. 483 for 20 Dan. Clutch survival. But of course, he is behind in lines and in score. So players are actually kind of even in terms of pace. The question is, can G's outscore 20 Dan on the post transition? He has to win this game in order to force a decider. It looks like the long bars are being a little bit stingy here on the post transition. G's will score a Tetris though, 488 to now 500,000. One more Tetris will bring G's in that tie game territory. And that's exactly what happens. 515, G's takes the lead, knocks down another Tetris, goes up to 543. However, Dan answers back, goes up to 532. Tetris will be scored over there from 20 Dan. 20 Dan sets up an overhang and decide to go for the I triple. Now it's going to complicate things, and this is actually going to prevent 20 Dan from scoring for a good chunk of this level 23 here. Unless he goes, yeah, he's setting up for this row 2. But the eyepiece comes, he might be rewarded for his efforts, looking for this eyepiece, holding out, burns out a Tetris availability at the last second. And you can see he's not too happy with that, but G's is also not too happy with his board. Climbing, there's a bunch of alternating burn shelves, and that left side has to be addressed with a J piece or an I piece. Gets neither, throws a T piece over there, creating a hole temporarily that will have to be addressed eventually. And now there's a long bar dependency on the left-hand side. G's not only needs the I piece, but needs to get it over. Throws a J piece over there instead. So all these burns have allowed 20 Dan to close the gap and get into a Tetris ready position. And that misdrop might be fatal for G's unless he's able to tap. No, he's just going to hop out, meaning that 20 Dan takes game number 4, winning the match 4-0. Meaning the Stochastic Squad leads 1-0. Nice tap over there. And there it is. 876 is what 20 Dan goes into 29 with. Wait. No level 30. But at 239, you can see he's pumped. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our next match. Carl ALR. As far as what she said about Tetris, I mean, this particular game, obviously, there's not going to be any innovation on it because it's 1989. But, there has been innovations recently. Tetris 99 was a novel concept, and Tetris Effect is still, to this day, one of the best Tetris games to have come out. But unfortunately, the decision to innovate is not necessarily on developers. They have to follow certain guidelines set forth by the Tetris company. Which means that there's limited room for innovation within those guidelines. Alright, players, if you like same piece sets, please let me know in chat right now. W, only 4 minutes of downtime between last match. Not too bad. The thing for the playoff overlays, I'll set up 2 in advance. So the first 2 matches can be like rapid fire, and then halftime would be whenever I set up the next 2. That way we can just have like an efficient playoff stream. Alright, but Toby is voted yes for SBS. The freaking heck? Bro, what? Alright, that's... Hold on. That is wild. Wait, what? The hell you mean? Kitten has a 1.529 star. Wait, I'm actually unaware. There's your seed players, 76, 71, 32. When y'all ready, we can get this game number 2 underway. I mean, it's Gauntlet. Hey, Toby, rest be assured, you're not going to get the seed that players got yesterday. If you somehow get a worse seed than yesterday's seed, I don't know, man. If you somehow get a worse seed than yesterday's seed, yeah. Like, yesterday was definitive proof Gauntlet has the worst RNG. Alright, players are ready. Let's go and get them counted down. We go in 3, 2, 1, Tetris. Is TSO to TSO. Game 1, or match 1 rather, was won by the Stochastic Squad. 20 Dan was able to defeat G's. So we dive into match 2. Getting alright here with the one-handed playing. Now, getting of course a more recent addition to Gauntlet, came in during the mid-season draft. Toby has been a mainstay of Gauntlet, was on the wavy ones, instead of had to make a tough choice this past season, having to decide which of the tier underneath captains to keep. As the wavy ones, if you were watching that season, they made it all the way to the finals in the playoffs and were on the path to reverse sweep the Millionaires. But things just didn't quite go their way. Toby is known to always be a pretty consistent player. So while these players are stacking on 18, we can actually take a look at the stats as far as Kitten goes. Currently trying to down stack out of this. And might be able to score a Tetris over there in column 9 should another eyepiece come with relative speed. But Kitten currently with a 3-3 record throughout the season, or not a 3-3, a 3-0 record. Totally read my stat sheet wrong. A 3-0 record throughout the season, and has played 15 games, won 9 of them, just lost 6 of them. In terms of where the averages are, Kitten is on a bit of the higher side with an average early top out adjusted median of, not an average, an early top out adjusted median of around 975,000. We're talking about a true transition rate of 85% and a raw 29 transition rate of just over 50%. So, as far as how Kitten's been playing in Gauntlet's been definitely an asset for the Aux Cords. Of course, being undefeated definitely helps, and their most recent victory was up against Cole, as the Aux Cords were able to defeat the Millionaires in their last matchup. Millionaires currently on a losing streak too, unfortunately. However, Toby has also been an asset for the Stochastic Squad, has a 5-2 match record, and is one of the few players in Gauntlet with a 100% true transition rate. Definitely something scary to go up against. And however, when it comes to 29, at least this season so far, we have a raw 29 transition rate of about 11%, which has also affected where his median stands. So we'll have to see how this match turns out, because so far this game is going well for Toby. 336,000 for Toby, 262,000 for Kitten. Things are looking pretty balanced here so far. There's a Vitz over there for Kitten. I wonder if that summons Jasmine. Because recently, whenever I said Vitz in Gauntlet, Jasmine just appears. It's hilarious. It's cold. $498 for Toby, $423 for Kitten. Toby has been able to play this rather efficiently. Kitten going for a couple of overhangs, and it's like not necessarily either player going to be waiting for the long bar here. Kitten set up another Vitz in the, not all the way on the right of the stack, so can be solved by other pieces. As both players knock down Tetrises. 4 more Tetrises remain for Toby. I believe that is 5 remaining for Kitten. Nice plays over here from Kitten. Both players knock down a Tetris. Toby's going to be able to score 2 more. Would love an L or a J to go in the center. 1 more Tetris available. It's going to fill in the J piece dependency first, meaning a long bar dependency gets built in the center of the stack. And there it is. Toby transitions at 621. Kitten transitions at 554. And another misdrop over there from Toby, but he's going to be able to knock down the Tetris. Goes up to 648, but now he's going to have to spin a couple of lines, getting the board back under control. Kitten, on the other hand, is Tetris ready. Knocks into Tetris. 603 now for him. Another Tetris over there for Kitten. Toby getting set up here for the center well. Takes the double, waiting on this long bar. And, oh my gosh! Clutch maneuver right there. What the heck? Toby staying alive and being able to score the Tetris. And with a couple of burns, is back to opening up the right-hand side and is able to score Tetrises from this point forward. However, that opportunity has allowed Kitten to close the gap. Ooh, Toby set up a delayed burn just as soon as the eyepiece comes, so Kitten knocks down Tetris, takes the lead, but Toby takes it right back. 7-13 and now 7-11, and both players hitting the gas on this one. Another Tetris for Toby. Takes the lead. Kitten unable to utilize that long bar for a Tetris. Toby now J-piece dependent, gets an eyepiece to fill in the J-piece dependency. Gonna take the T-double. And ooh, Toby not necessarily happy with how this stack is developing, but that O-piece opens up that well. Tetris is scored. Kitten's gonna knock down a Tetris as well. This is a close game here, 771 to now 780. Kitten, no way he goes for this. Kitten's going for the dirty Tetris. Needs the long bar, needs something, but none of the pieces are falling in Kitten's favor at the moment. Toby misses the 5-tap, but able to get another eyepiece over. Kitten brings the stack down, taking the lead. And Toby trying to set up for a dirty left low Tetris. It looks like that's exactly what he's going to try and do. And Kitten set up for a dirty center low Tetris. Well is covered for Kitten. Toby knocks down the dirty left low Tetris back into the lead. 826 to now 812. Kitten's holding out for this, but is having to burn out of it. And is, no, going to stay committed to this. Going for the dirty. Kitten with the dirty Tetris into the lead. 847. Now Toby is in trouble. Can he find a way to downstack this as Kitten continues to pour on the aggression? 879. Kitten reopens up the right well. Toby, now well is open. That's going to be a triple, but he's able to bring the stack down, and that's what's crucial as we closing in on the last 3 levels here of level 19 speeds. We'll be heading to level 29 following 2 more levels, basically. Toby's brought the stack all the way down to the bottom. Now he's trying to find a way to score a Tetris or get into a Tetris-ready position. Kitten with another Tetris goes up to 950. The tides have turned. The pendulum has swung in the other direction, and Kitten's the one with all the momentum. 870,000 now for Toby, 994 for Kitten. Toby with 3 Tetrises remaining in level 28. He's going to burn out of one of them. Kitten, phenomenal post in this game. Just shy of a 600k post. However, the game's not over. We do have 29. But with Toby down by 100,000 points. Hold on, wait. Kitten, this drought might get the better of him. The drought might get the better of both of them. The long bar is just not coming in time. Toby needs this long bar. He needs it now. There's still an opportunity. Gets the long bar. Okay, A37 is the score you need, Toby. He's going to have to do some down stacking. And ooh, because of Video Ninja not able to get the piece all the way over left, Toby's going to top it at 994. Kitten takes game number 1. What a phenomenal post over there by Kitten in the latter half of the post transition. And that could just be attributed to the fact that Kitten was playing insanely aggressive. Going for dirty Tetrises while Toby was trying to get clean. But of course, when players are ready for game number 2, we can get them counted down. Yeah, those stats are with you tapping. That's right. For those of you that were paying attention to my stats spiel, that was tap Toby. So, we got roll Toby now. And, I don't know, for Toby's first game in Gauntlet as roll, getting a 994. Pretty solid. Players are ready. Let's go ahead and get them counted down for game number 2. Here we go in 3, 2, 1, Tetris. Right. And to start off the game, would you know it, we have ourselves a drought. Wouldn't be Gauntlet without a dose of lack of long bars. Both players scored 2 Tetrises and had to burn quite a bit. 7 burn lines here in the opener. Simon Tetris will be scored. Kitten with actually the better board to deal with these pieces. And now both players are in a pretty clean spot. Tetris for Kitten, Tetris for Toby. However, Kitten might have to burn to get Tetris ready. Which, in the immediate present, not necessarily going to mean a lot. Ooh, nice adjustment over there from Toby. He's going to step at delay burn. Finally gets a piece that he's looking for. Kitten will be able to take a lead just because of having an ability to utilize the long bar while Toby was still trying to get into a position to resolve the board state. Tetris now on the board for Toby, 150 and now 149, and ooh, Kitten playing a little bit with fire here. Eyepiece does come. Tetris will be scored. However, Kitten's not going to be able to score Tetris until that hole in row 4 is dealt with. Or unless Kitten decides to go aggressive. We saw what Kitten was capable of in terms of aggression on the post-transition last game. Looks like Kitten's just going to burn all the way down below. And a double 5 below over there from Kitten. Definitely looks cool. The Tetris will be scored. 221 for Toby. Kitten at 213. Ooh, Kitten missing the T-spin there. Tetris will still be scored, so Kitten goes into the lead. And Toby is just going to bring the sec all the way down, so Tetris will be scored for Toby as Kitten sets up a column 5. Let's see how long Kitten will be able to maintain it. So far, one burn has been forced. And the Tetris will be scored, so... Ooh, that overhang might be a bit of a challenge to deal with in a center well. So, nice way, gonna tuck and utilize that T-piece to help burn out the double. 293 for Kitten. Bit ahead in line, so 308 for Toby. Nice adjustment, too. And Toby's going to be in the lead by 2 Tetrises. I'm looking at a 600k transition at the moment. But we are looking at a pretty high 500k. If Toby is able to continue the same level of efficiency. Ooh, a slowdown. Not able to quite get the pieces that he's looking for there. Players now patiently waiting for this next eyepiece. All players are Tetris ready. Kitten has no way to really burn, so this shroud is going to hurt a lot more. Finally was able to build up that left enough to burn a triple, and now Toby's in danger. With no eyepiece in sight, we might be looking at Toby's first early top out of the season. Unless an eyepiece can come right now. Toby, few more burns, and that hang on the right is going to lead to Toby's first early top of the season, meaning Kitten takes game number 2.